Good morning. Welcome to the April 24th TDC, the Tourist Development Council meeting. We will start this meeting, first of all, with a prayer to God. We've got Pastor James Crock here this morning, and then after that, we will have our Pledge of Allegiance.
First of all, thank you for inviting me. It's both an honor and a privilege to be with you this morning. We pray. Dear Father in heaven, you have demonstrated your love for your people in many ways, primarily in the sending of your only Son to live and die for us, and then be resurrected from the dead in our place. You have blessed all of us with the gift of living and enjoying your beautiful creation here in Bradenton. Help all of us to be good stewards of your gifts. Guide everyone here with your Spirit for your wisdom, so that the discussions and decisions today best serve the people living in Bradenton, those who vacation here, and the part-time residents. In Jesus' holy name we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Right. Thank you very much. We will start with on our agenda with TDC member introductions. Elliot, do we want to start on your side of the?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Elliot Felchoni, Tourism Director, Manatee County.
Norma Kennedy.
James Satcher.
Shirley Groover Bryant.
Gene Brown, Mayor, City of Bradenton.
Ed Charles.
Eric Cairns, Anna Maria Island.
And Mayor Bryant is Mayor Palmetto. And God is so good that when we ask the Lord to bless Bradenton, Manatee County, and Palmetto, we all get the overflow. So we're all good. All right, we'll go number one. We got our meeting minutes. Need a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right. Any discussion from the board? Do I need to take comment from the public? Any comment on that? Seeing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right. Meeting minutes are adopted unanimously. And number two, we'll take public comment. This is for public comment. Anyone here that would like to address the board can come forward. You'll get your 3 minutes. Don't all come at once. We don't want to stampede. Don't hurt yourself. Okay. All right. And number three, talking about the Coquina Beach Trail, we have Chad Butso, the Director of Public Works for Manatee County. He's going to come tell us where we're at on that project.
Wow, those are small. We found the clicker, but I was going to introduce our project manager for everything that's going out there, ongoing issues at Coquina, Mike Sturm. Since we've started within just nearly wrapping up, he's going to give you a status report on the drainage project that is also known as the parking lot project, and then how we plan on transitioning to the trail.
Does it work?
Well, throw it into present mode and we'll see, because I don't know if it's on or not. Because I don't see an on-off button. It is on. All right, there you go, Mike. Maybe not.
Okay. All right, well, good morning. My name's Mike Sturm. Not the first time I've been here, but the first time for some of you. So I was going to give you an overview on the park, talk a little bit about the upcoming trail. And so I have an overview, the introduction, construction status. I'll take you through that. Little bit of detail. Phase 1 parking, 192 stalls. 4 of those are RV stalls. Phase 2 parking is 862 stalls. There's 142 of those are overflow parking, one of which on the south side has been constructed. The one on the north side will be as soon as we take care of their laydown area. The contractor's in there right now. And then we'll talk about the trail. Next. So this is Phase 1 Coquina. It's been completed. And if you would go to the next slide, please. This is what it looks like out there. I was out there this morning. It was just a beautiful morning. Next. Phase 2 is the rest of the parking area going to the north. Next. And then when we started out this project, we were trying to minimize the impact to the citizens using the beach. So we broke it into 4 subphases. The purple one on the south end has been completed. The blue one is also completed. The red one was completed. And they're almost completing the green phase, which is phase number 3. Next. So this is what it looks like on the north end. People are using it. The market was out there. Next. This is back at the south end of the second phase. Next. And here we are on the final phase, finishing up construction. I know everybody's anxious to see that done. Next. And just a few pictures of that. Next. And this is the subcontractor doing the pervious concrete. He had his first truck out there at about 7:30 this morning. I was out there and witnessed that, so. Next. So when the parking lot is complete, and we're thinking that's going to be probably sometime next month, we still have to come back in and do the tree mitigation. Now, we were fortunate that many of the trees we had projected to come out in the second phase were far enough away from the work, we were able to save them. So we have some surplus mitigation out there. This will start as soon as he finishes the parking lot. Next. So we had a few add-ons. At the very north end, there was a restroom area that we were also doing some concrete and cutting off access out to 789. Next. This is the southern overflow area that's already been constructed, and you can see the beginnings of the north one in this photo. Next. And there's the rest of it. We also connected that cul-de-sac into subphase 4 for easier access. Next. So I know this isn't a great picture, but the trail goes a long way. It goes all the way from the bus stop at the 5th on the north end, all the way back to the pass. Next. You can see here the little circle at the very end. This is the starting of the trail next to the pass. Go to the next one, please. And here alongside the parking area, you can see that the trail meanders underneath the trees. Next. And then it goes so long, I broke it up into 2 other pieces. As it leaves the park, you can see it meandering off to the west side of the roadway. And then next. And then it gets up to the north end near the bus stop at 5th. And it's just many, many trees right there alongside it. So, next slide, please. So there's construction costs that we've come up with. It's $1.5 million. We've already hired a contractor, a CMAR, construction manager at risk. And we've got him to give us a projection on the cost. And that cost is about $1.5 million. A lot of that cost has to do with restoration of the trail, putting in tree mitigation, the root barrier on the parking lot, or the parking trail. So once we build that, it will stay there. It won't come undone like it is today with the roots of the trees. And then, of course, there's about 96 Australian pines that have to be removed, many of them on the north end going up into town. So it's going to be obvious when those trees come out. So we have about 48 tree surplus in the mitigation site. And so a lot of that will be taken care of already under the cost, and we still have to do an additional 48. But knowing that trees are a very important aspect of the city of Bradenton Beach and much of the coastline, we'll be mitigating with the same green buttonwood, black olive, the native species that grow well in this environment. And you can see that at the south end of the park today. Time to complete, once we start the trail, will be about 8 months. And with that, we'll open it up to questions.
Do color commentary here, Mike, and just cover the idea of what are we actually doing? It's a trail replacement within the scope, so footprint, size, location.
So it's about 8 feet wide, and it starts all the way at the south end and goes all the way to the north, and we're looking to totally replace it. When we start taking trees and tree stumps out, it's going to be a lot of impact there. The root barrier has to go beneath the trail, so we can't do it any other way. We have to rebuild the trail.
The Carmine D'Amelio from Property Management, whose group maintains the trail out there, we're confident that while it sounds like a large investment, we hope it'll last even much longer than the original trail did, because we're fairly confident that there was not as much or any root barrier potentially used the first time around. So second time there. The trees have already known the trail was there, plus we're also installing the root barriers, so hopefully we'll get a bit more longevity with this time around.
So just want to say one other thing. If a tree is within, 4 to 5 feet, we did root barrier. If it gets within 3 feet, we have to take it out, just for the safety of it. As we dig down, it takes the roots out, big wind comes by and it blows out. But there are many of the trees that are still going to stay, especially along the area of the beach, up to where the beach and the 789 come together into Braden Beach. The trees north of that point, though, if they're that close to the trail, they just have to come out. And with that,
Thanks. I just have one comment. Carmine D'Amelio, Property Management. We average, over the last 5 years, $35,000 to $40,000 a year annually repairing some of the cracking and the issues with the trail. So that investment alone over the last 5 years has been nearly $200,000. So just want to throw that in.
Thank you, Carmine. We'll start over there. Go ahead.
Were there any thoughts about making it wider than 8 feet? The whole island, as you can, for years now, the golf carts on the island are becoming more and more and more and more. Any thoughts about making access for golf carts at all, along with bicycles, walking, pedestrians, etc.?
Mike, let me get to the microphone here. Mike is our most seasoned person about dealing with the permitting regulations, and one of the, I'll let Mike come here, is by just doing a complete remove, replace. We don't have to deal with permitting issues. You want to fill in the rest of that sentence, otherwise of what comes in if we want to make changes?
well, I mean, there's coastal aspects that you have to go through. Things take a long time once you start changing the footprint that's there. I'm sorry, you couldn't hear me. All right, so anytime you do something bigger than the footprint that's out there today, you have to start dealing with the DEP up in Tallahassee. Coastal permitting, it takes months and months to get those things approved. By going back with what we have in place today, we don't have to go through that.
It would be nice if a lot of people could use their carts, take their carts all the way down there. I mean, they're allowed all the way up to the north end, all the way down. It'd be nice if they could take them down there out by our boats and this and that. Any thoughts about making it wider at all? Were there any discussions on this at all previous to these plans?
Eric, can you get a microphone in front of you, sir?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Our focus at the moment has been just dealing with the, improve the safety and the conditions on the trail. We can consider and review that with an add-on follow-up project as far as potentially on the widening. It would change the cost and certainly the timeline of the project, but from just improve the conditions for as soon as and quickly as possible, the simple remove, replace is what's available to us.
Thank you.
Mr. Childs?
Yeah, we've been talking about this for a long time.
And actually, the MET asked me to remind everyone these buttons are a little bit of a pain, but be sure you turn on your mics as you're speaking. If you look real close, you can tell when the light's on if you're speaking. Sorry about that.
And I'm delighted to see the work that you've done, permeable concrete, all of that. This is a model project down there. And I think everybody in listening audience, and certainly all of us up here and this county, the policymakers in this county, understand parking on the island. And they understand how big of an issue that is. We know the number one issue in Braden Beach, where a tremendous amount of work has been done from the CRA in revitalizing the business district, which has been nothing short of phenomenal, what's happened there in the last 10 years. And the biggest single issue there is a lack of parking. And this is, with all of that, with everything that's going on in Holmes Beach, with the fact that we want to encourage people to be able to use the beaches, but we have a real dearth of parking, especially in Holmes Beach now with what has gone on there. And here are more parking spaces than anywhere else, maybe in the county. And this is about connectivity. And that's what this trail offers. I like the idea and the vision has been a promenade, because I think a promenade is something that we can sell, right? I mean, the idea that you've seen them in different areas, that you have people out there running and strolling and accessing that area and getting some exercise and having their kids out there is just a tremendous asset, and I think it's something that's going to be on the front page of our annual report, and I think it's something that's going to be like the trolley and like our park systems and like the things that make our visitors and our people that live here be able to access and get more enjoyment out of this beautiful, precious area that we have. And the one thing that we need here to connect, and I'd love to see, golf carts, but I don't want to see all the golf courts on there. I want to see one set of trams of 6-passenger golf carts. We've been talking about it in Braden Beach. We've been talking about it in the CRA because that connects 1,200 parking spaces that this county has worked so hard on to what the CRA has worked so hard on, and that's the downtown in Braden Beach. And it addresses the biggest problem of the lack of parking. So if you go to the beach and you're spending the day at the beach and you want to come up and have lunch in Braden Beach at one of our businesses, or if you want to go do a little shopping, or if you want to get a break and get out of the sun, you can do so. You don't get in your car and get in that 45-minute traffic jam that is there every day in season from when I'm coming out of Mar Vista and I'm heading up and it stops at the light at Cortez, and then you can kind of go on your way. But if you see that trolley going back and forth while you're sitting in that traffic all day,
Thank you.
or 45 minutes, you get the picture that, oh, I can access Braden Beach and I can come down. And so if we have the ability for a trolley to, and again, that's a golf cart size thing, to move along that trail and to go back and forth and not have to be on the road and bring people up, even if it doesn't get them all the way there, if it gets them 80, 90% of the way there, that is going to be a tremendous amenity, and I hope we don't lose that opportunity.
If I offer something that's not completely concrete yet, we have the other project that's going on in the Bradenton Beach area is the gravity sewer replacement job that's going from 13th to 5th, roughly this area of the north end of what you were just referring to, Mr. Childs. And we've coordinated with the city of Bradenton Beach. They had a jitney trail concept several years ago. We brought it to their question of what is your current vision for what this could be, not promising at this moment, but knowing we have some level of restoration efforts to be done with that sewer job. And if there is something that we could potentially partner together with that, we are waiting for them to bring us a updated version of something that would accommodate that, whether that puts the trail next to the road, puts the trail closer to the walking path, how it adjusts parking, 2 different ways to consider doing that. But we're trying to figure out if it is a partnership opportunity. Yes, it would be extra money, but we're already there with an existing contract that does need some level of restoration because we've just dug a trench next to the road through that parking area.
That's tremendous news. I'm on that CRA board. We are all about that, and so we look forward to working with you to make this thing the best that it can possibly be. And I think it's going to be a great amenity for the county and for people to be able to come out from East County and Central County and West Braden and access our beaches and have a place to go and park, and then be able to access our businesses too, which we all know makes it just a little bit better experience.
All right, thank you, Mr. Childs. Just for everyone's information, so situational awareness, we've got Raul Platel is connected via Zoom to the call. Do we have any more comments on this particular matter? And at some point, I'll have a question for you, Chad, but we'll go ahead. Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just listening today and knowing how in the city of Bradenton, we tried to change our micro-mobility a little bit on our Main Street and Riverwalk with some different accesses with scooters and different things. It would really be interesting to see what that width of that would have to be if we added golf carts on there, because, we talk about people that want to walk, jog, ride their bikes, push their strollers for their babies and that. And to just put golf carts on it full-fledged would be, I think, not very good for the image of what we're trying to do. But I do agree with both comments that have been said before. There has to be some opportunity to get the people from point A to point B without getting in their cars if they're spending the whole day at the beach. So I know that's a whole different probably project, but, and I know that the access on the golf carts, they have to be street legal. So, is that something that on the trail that golf carts could actually ride legally, or is there issues with that part of it too?
I'm sorry to interrupt. Mr. Patel did have his hand raised for this item. There's no way for me to indicate that to you out here, so just a reminder to call on him on occasion.
Thanks, Chris.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Thanks, Chris.
Potentially, I'd defer a little bit to Carmine as far as, he's our ADA coordinator for the county, to comment on minimum widths. With the paved parking lot, though, at least in this area, the resulting of the pervious concrete, some may not see that as the ideal place to go, but it would definitely be in a condition that it's traversable. These parking areas will have a way to go from one place to the other. In coordination with Bradenton Beach and their city police and MSO, they had agreed to restore some of that connectivity that had been taken away 15 years ago. So that they are a lot more interconnected than they once were. It may take some effort, but even after big rains, they will still be traversable compared to what the old parking lot would be. As far as comments on what is legal and what's allowable on a trail per the rules, I'd rather defer to Carmine.
Yeah, the question about the golf carts on the trail, right now it's designed for an 8-foot trail, and the concerns are liability reasons and safety concerns. We have on our multi-use trails, there are signs that are posted that there's no motorized vehicles on there, and that's the reason for safety concerns. Not that it can't be designed that way, but right now it's designed for 8 feet.
Well, I don't even know if it was only 8 foot, could you even have two golf carts going opposite each other?
No,
They'd have to go off the trail, so
that's right.
there's a huge factor there. Thank you.
Yes.
Carmine.
Yeah, I just want to hope that we can keep an open mind about this. And again, we are not talking about, all due respect to Richard, the idea of every golf cart on this island being able to use that, I think is, from a safety standpoint, I would think is a non-starter. But if we have that designated vehicle with the drivers that know what they've got to do and who's got the right of way, to be able to add that on and do that connectivity. And the one thing I didn't mention, I think, is our ability with grants and what that does for DOT and intermodal transportation and everything else, again, in light of this huge problem that we have in our county with parking on the beaches.
Thank you, Ed.
Want to go with Raul?
Yeah, let me go with Raul first. Raul, are you there? Do you have you had a question on this? I'm sorry I didn't call on you earlier.
Thank you.
There he
Thank
is.
you, Mr. Chair. Yes, I would like to comment.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and the committee and everybody there. To me, how I'm listening to everybody, it's first of all looking like a infrastructure project, and it's at a different scale. I mean, $1.5 million. We have been using our money very wisely and making sure we are promoting our destination and bringing tourism in a very effective way. We already spent $5 million in the parking lot. We thought this would have been sufficient. Now, this money should be looked at somewhere in a different part of the budgets. I mean, from the government. Something else that I've heard from fellow committee members, I think this needs more detailed research. If we are wanting, this is just a temporary thing. If we are needing something better, let's design something better. Also look for the money which is needed from the right departments, and then kind of bring this back to the table. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Mr. Patel.
Mr. Chair, just a comment, and I think we're starting to see some synergy here. This is almost like a phase situation with the force main, the sewage main. I could say this because I know the board is just all over enhancing multimodal transportation up and down the island. Ed, I think you were probably the only one on the TDC when we applied for the Tiger Grant.
Yep.
And I think Chad was there too. I really think we need to dust off that Tiger Grant because every city was partnering and revisit that and then running concurrently, Chad and Mike and Carmine can look at what is the next phase in regards to enhancing multimodal transportation, just not on Coquina Beach parking lot, but the entire island from north to south. Remember, the water ferry is going to stop at South Coquina Beach Launch 2, and there would be nothing better than to jump on a 6-passenger jitney and just go right under the bridge and right onto the beach. You know, so a lot of opportunity there. We got the right guys here that know how to get it done. As long as we don't need to tear up that 8-foot path, 3 years from now, that's set in stone. What's the next step in regards to phasing is what I would push is let's dust off that old Tiger grant.
Make sure you can hear me. I just want to say, you've said the magic words, because we've talked trails, we have segments of the trail throughout the city of Palmetto. Our CRA was instrumental, our CRA director was instrumental in working on the build grant. And I would tell you, I think that would just absolutely be awesome if we could get that out. It's, so much of it is probably still applicable and could be rephrased and combined with this project and even enhanced even more. But I think that's something we need to do very, very quickly. And I'm sitting here listening because I'm probably at the beach less than most people, but and it's only because I can't go in the sun. But at any rate, the thing is, it seems like there's a lot more information that we're wanting to have, the total impact, the timing impact, how difficult it's going to be for you to face what you've got, because I know how frustrating that is to get to that point where you're on the go button and you have something that kind of slows you down. But sometimes the best product, the end product, works best if you kind of hit the brakes a little bit and incorporate some more information in it. So thank you for the information this morning. It's good to see you, Carmine.
Same.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. And Elliot, you mentioned the water taxi, and then what about the trolley? The trolley goes to Coquina Beach.
Yes, and
Right.
Chad oversees that as well. So, yeah, you do have the free trolleys going up and down Gulf Drive. So there's integration there as well.
Okay, so you got 3 trolleys going there now. How much parking do we have there now, Chad? I think you said 186, am I right?
Total for Coquina.
Yeah, it's around 1,000, actually. And mainly because of the overflow areas, it went up. Originally, it was like 900 or so. Now it's up around 1,000.
So that's finished. The 1,000 are open and,
That's correct.
okay. And then this path is currently how wide?
It's 8 feet wide. And I'd have to ask just quickly if I could, Mr. Childs, does the off-road vehicle need to be on a paved
No, sir.
driveway?
It just needs to have the ability for it to travel and not be in that 45-minute traffic jam.
So,
That's what's gonna make it get used, because everybody's gonna see it.
so having been out there and walked the trail in order to get the proposal together, there's ample room underneath the trees on Coquina Beach. There's also ample room up through the parking area where we could offset an area for them to come down through, and we could still avoid the conflict with the pedestrians. So I think it just takes a little bit of study and then designation of an area for them. I don't know how far north we can go. I know we can go to the bus trolleys, or the bus stop up near Fifth, because I've done a lot of study from their south. We'd have to look from their north to see how much further north we could do. But I don't know that today we couldn't work something out to get that going.
And the folks in Braden Beach and the folks on the CRA and the city council welcome working with you on that, and I
Right.
look forward to working with you on that.
And I'll make sure that we clear these things through the rest of the folks.
Thank you. So just for clarification, so the current path that's having trouble from Roots is 8 foot wide as well? So we're,
That's correct.
okay. All right. Any other comments or questions?
I love things to be clear, but Mike, on what you just described, were you providing a path through the existing infrastructure, or were we talking about installing some additional infrastructure in an unused area?
So my thoughts were that we could go along the existing paved trail that we're going to renovate and offset an area, just a corridor for this vehicle that we're talking about, to bring folks in and out. I know we can bring it all the way down to the pass. I don't know that we can run along the pass. I don't know that there's enough room there. But we could certainly come from the south end and work it out through the parking area off the existing trail and just designate that as a motorized. Now, once again, I'd have to work with Carmine on that. He's our ADA coordinator for the county, make sure that we're meeting all the rules. But I do see a path down through there, at least from Fifth South.
So would the board like for us to just have them bring back options as far as whether or not to run parallel on to the side, and if something else presents itself that might be really cost effective or really give us some solutions to bring back other options? Is that what the board would like to do?
I'd
Seems
sure
like what
to
I'm
see it
hearing.
done.
I agree.
Okay, Elliot, are you on board for that?
I'm going to have one question for these two guys right here, because with Woodruff mobilized at Coquina Beach, there's a cost savings to doing the 8-foot wide path now, and I'm not quite sure that I'm clear on the chair's direction, but y'all are looking to get a recommendation to do that at 8-foot width path now to save money while Woodruff is there. If we wait, what are the ramifications of that?
So Woodruff is there on Coquina Beach doing the parking lot. They've also given us a quote, construction manager at risk, to do the trail. They're also doing the sewer project north of there. So we have the same contractor in place doing all three that we could, modify with this additional room for a motorized vehicle. So I think there is a cost savings.
The length of time that they're going to continuously be there for the sewer job, a single month is not going to be a killer. The intent is just the longer we wait, the more into the next season we go, per se, with the actual just R&R of the existing trail. So sooner we got started with the actual replacement, the sooner we'll be ready for having construction out of the way for the next season, because you had up there 7-8 months?
Yeah, it's
7
8
months
months for the trail.
So, I mean, that was where we were trying to get started as soon as possible. The issue with having the parallel access route, that could be something that's added to that scope concurrently or once it's already in progress. But to designate and actually award that GMP, that guaranteed maximum price, we need the funding set in place to award it. We have that proposal in front of us, but we haven't actually awarded it to Woodruff, so their clock isn't ticking yet on that 8 months yet.
What's your recommendation, Chad?
I cannot speak officially on the budget, but with the intent here of the enhancements going forward of a service that's not in place at the moment, but likely we will learn a lot this summer with the start of the water taxi, a temporary service that with our sewer job to assist residents when their street is torn up with the sewer job is proposing a temporary tram service that we're going to hire through that project. Having that parallel, we do need to put some time, a little bit of effort into the survey, give you a decent exhibit on where that would be. Is it 4 feet? Is it 5 feet? And it's meant to be, I mean, at the moment, we're talking not additional paved, but like a stabilized shell area that is dedicated for this special service. Not everybody's golf cart, but for the transportation service of the idea. I'd like to keep the replacement project moving around, just like I say, to, if we have a chance, maybe be done with it before the end of the year and not go through peak season with real construction going on the trail. But, and hopefully before that job is even barely getting going, maybe we've made a decision on this parallel issue and can just make that as a small change order to the existing contract that would be in place at that time.
Is your, the plan right now is for the 8 foot of replacement trail to be right where the 8 foot is already at? Is that correct?
Yes, sir. That's the easiest permitting wise. Yes, sir.
Easy, that makes sense.
Because it's an impervious area, you're not relocating, you're not changing the amount of impervious nor the location. You're not getting closer to the water. That's usually the bigger issue as well.
Okay. Well, I'm open to it, however the board wants to proceed. I think maybe something that might move us forward would be a motion to accept the recommendations with the caveat or with the addition that we would like to look into a shell path parallel to the existing path for an off-road transport vehicle. And honestly, when they're really going to town, you know, breaking things up with the tractors and all that, it'd be nice to have that anyway, I imagine. That might be a good motion to go forward with
So
what
moved.
I'm hearing. All right. Any further discussion from the board? Raul, do you have anything to add on that? Mr. Patel? I think you're muted,
Sorry,
Mr. Patel.
I was
There you are.
unmuted. I don't want to add anything more, but I would like a reconsideration of this whole thing before we can approve it anonymously.
Just for clarification, you'd like reconsideration for budget purposes or for width, or both? Just,
Both.
okay,
Thank you.
okay. And then,
Well, you can just vote no at that point
yeah, I
if you
mean,
want.
yeah, it might
Yes,
be,
sir.
it might be a no.
Yeah.
Any other comments from the board, though, as far as the existing motion? If we've got a lot of no's out there, now's the time to maybe say we need a different motion. I guess we'll find out.
Mr. Chair, I like your approach. I'll just reiterate it, is to get a recommendation to bring this to the Board of County Commissioners, so they can redo that 8-foot path, but then for Chad and Mike to come back, for a phased approach to help find the area for the Jitney Trail, for us to review.
And I think just from, you know, having a different perspective, I know that there's a big advantage to being out there on the islands daily and operating businesses there to seeing this, but also from being on the Board of County Commissioners, I see where, you know, plans are going, money's going, things are moving or behind the scenes that you may not see the results of yet. And between what I'm hearing from the FDOT, from what I'm hearing from the county, I mean, the bottom line is that Coquina is going to be where a lot of our visitors are able to actually access the beach. So I think it probably is smart to move forward with something, and if we want to expand it, you know, I don't think it would hurt us to expand it along the, you know, later on. I know that when I first started seeing a lot of budget items for Coquina and the price started rising, I was a little frustrated, and then I realized it kind of makes sense because we are definitely constrained on the north, dealing with some of the politics there. So, go ahead, one more comment?
Comment, Mr. Chairman. I think you're exactly right, because, you know, this is something that the cities are going to like, because it's not taking and moving them into Holmes Beach. It's not taking them up into Anna Maria where they don't have the facilities. It's taking them down in an area where we do have the facilities, and the beaches are beautiful, and the parking is available, and there is a great business district very nearby that will benefit from this.
Okay, and I don't see, I mean, nothing about this plan would keep us from eventually turning that shell into more of a path for other options as well. So let's take public comment before the vote. Anyone that would like to speak to this proposal on the floor, come forward, state your name. You'll have 3 minutes to address the board, the council. All right. Seeing none, we'll take a vote on the motion on the floor. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. All those opposed? Raul, are you a no vote, sir?
I'm a no vote, sir. Thank you.
Okay, so we've got a no vote from Mr. Patel. Do we have any other no votes? All right. The motion passes with Mr. Patel in opposition.
Mr. Chair, if I can,
Yes, sir.
before Carmine leaves, sometimes the community's remiss of a department doing an awesome job during a potential adverse situation. And I was really glad to see Carmine come in here. He hates me for doing this. But I tell you what, Carmine and his team worked tirelessly to mitigate red tide from getting really bad. And it's the guy that you're looking at right now, 7 days a week, too many hours a day. And they kept ahead of it better than, I'm not afraid to say it publicly, any other coastal county you'll find in Florida. So Carmine, what you did for the economy during that time is just priceless. So thank you. I'll sign off on a little mini vacation for you, whoever your boss is. But thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Elliot. Thank you, Carmine. I want to echo that. You guys do a great job. And we know that it's not just looks, you know, it doesn't just look better once we do the cleanup, but it actually helps to mitigate the entire issue. from Red Tide.
Thank
So,
Mark Taylor
thank you,
for
sir.
us.
All right.
He did an awesome job out there.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you for being
Thanks,
here.
Mike, Chuck. Thank you.
All right, number 4, we got the State of Tourism update. This will be Ann Watine, Director of Quantitative Research from Research Data and Services.
Good morning.
Good morning. State your name for the record. even
My
though I
name
just
is
did.
Ann Watine with Research Data Services. So if we can pull that up. I'm here to talk, to kind of recap what February looked like and where we are year to date. Okay, and if we can go, yep. Great. Can we go into slideshow mode? Okay, so for February, visitors were up by 1.6% over February of last year. That doesn't sound like a whole lot. That doesn't sound like the numbers we've been hearing, but this is February, so we are pretty near at capacity, and there isn't the room for those big growth numbers that we've been seeing. This is also during a month where some properties told us that they were impacted by red tide. So we have a slight rollback in the number of room nights and a 5.4% increase in economic impact. That economic impact number is 36.7% up over where we were in 2019, with only 15% more visitors. So, all right, if we can go forward. So we had a decrease in occupancy over last year, and that is also a decrease over where we were in 2019. But in that period of time, from 2019 till now, we have a 13.5% increase in the number of units in our inventory, which means there's a whole lot more to sell, which is why we can see decreases in occupancy but increases in number of visitors. ADR for February was up by 10.2% over last year, up by 26% over 2019, which gives us RevPAR up by 6.3 and up 23.1% over where we were in 2019. So if we can go to the next slide. We are seeing increases in visitors from the Northeast. That has to do with flights, new flights coming in. Canada is picking back up. From our travel sentiment surveys, they had told us how much they missed that regular trip, that they would come to Florida during season. And now that they can, they're certainly starting to take advantage. We're still not, we're actually up over where we were in 2019 in terms of our Canadian visitors for February. We're seeing nice growth in European traffic, but that is not quite back to 2019 levels. So we still have some room for recovery there. All right, so if we can go to the next slide. We had a slight increase in the number of visitors. That's why room nights were down and visitors were up. And a slight increase in length of stay. But if you look back to 2019 we were at 7.2 nights. So now we're at 7.7 nights. That is a big difference. So we're getting more room nights over those visitors who are coming at this period of time. I think over the summer we'll start seeing contractions, though. I think we're starting to see some reaction to prices and things. We're hearing that in various places, that room nights are getting shorter. All right, so if we can go forward to, in terms of fiscal year to date, so this is October through February, visitors are up by 6.2% over last year. Economic impact up by 11.8%. That's a 68% increase over 2019, with visitors up 46.7% over 2019. If we can go forward to, so SRQ, traffic was up by 16.3%. That is 18.5% calendar year to date, and up 160.2% over 2019. So you can see very positive numbers for the first 3 months of 2023 in terms of traffic through the airport. And if we go to the next slide, in comparison to everybody else out there in our market, you can see that Tampa International was up in March by 3.3% compared to that 16. Pinellas was down by 3.8%. Punta Gorda was down by 6%. Fort Lauderdale was up. And throughput through TSA, the TSA security check numbers, are up for all 3 months of the year. They were down for March by 1.5%, but the only 2 positive months that we've seen in terms of TSA throughput compared to 2019 numbers were January and February, and they were one-digit increases. It was like 2% and 1% for January and February. All right, so if we go to the next slide, and this will take a couple of clicks to get through. I'll kind of talk about it as we go. So if you can click one more. So this is in terms of a 7-day rolling average, which smooths out the bumps of more people travel on Friday and Saturday than they do on Wednesday. So that kind of smooths that out. So this is 7-day rolling average of the number of people traveling through U.S. security checkpoints. And so you can see the recovery as things have come back. If you click click once. That is the average for 2019. So average passengers per day in 2019, we're getting back to that level. The next one, this is our average visitors in 2020. So you can see our recovery from that place. And one more. Okay, so what this is 2019 laid over, because it gets really hard to see if we've gotten back to where we were in 2019. So we've laid it over the current numbers, and it's amazing to me how closely we're mirroring that normal pattern, and how close we are to where we were in 2019. So if you look back to 2019, the biggest period for air travel is the summer. It's June and July, so it's coming. Last year, we were seeing lots of flight changes, lots of flight cancellations, lots of issues with flights. So hopefully we won't see as much of that this summer, and we'll see air traffic coming back more to normal. So if we can go to the next, and one more. So in terms of what properties are telling us as we talk to them and collect the occupancy and the average daily rate information, we are hearing a lot of really positive things. There were some properties telling us that they had issues with red tide, RT, or water quality issues, as the case may be. And one property specifically thanked the CVB for the talking points that they give them, that give them ways to address that with their customer base. And so I wanted to share that with you. We are hearing that reservations are getting to be a little bit more last minute. But in general, the things that we're hearing for May, June, July, May and June, the beginning of summer, are positive. The trend of all of those comments are positive. So that's kind of a real quick recap of what we're hearing out there. Are there any questions?
Anyone have questions? Ms. Whiting?
Mr. Chair, just one comment. I spoke to Ann about a week ago. We will have her team out on the island Memorial Day weekend, 4th of July, and maybe even Labor Day. As you know, the traffic gets heavy on Manatee and Cortez going out to the island, and she's going to try to grab the type of people that are going out onto the island that weekend. Are they overnight stays? Are they just in the community going out for a beach day, et cetera? And we'll also be continuing to ask questions about the water ferry service. So really, really important. We will share those reports with you when we get them after, later on this summer.
And this will be the third time we're doing that study.
Yes.
So we have some tracking of how that's changing over time.
Excellent.
Yeah, I think it's probably a good time for me to bring up something that we haven't announced yet. We've done fireworks, 4th of July for, I don't know, I've been in business 44 years. I think we've done them for 40 years. After the chamber out there wasn't able to do them anymore, and we picked it up, and we were doing them at Anna Maria and at the Sandbar, we're doing them at the Beach House. A couple of years we did all three, which was an incredible high wire act with the weather and everything else. It's become too big for us. And the discussions that we're having today around Coquina and all of the things and the preparation, that is a proper place, or Manatee Beach is a proper place, but Coquina is even a better place. So in light of the fact that we are going to announce at some point, and I guess I'm announcing it here, that we are not going to do that anymore at the Sandbar, and that's the only show we're doing now of the three. Maybe there's a way for us to talk about having businesses support it and do it at another location and some other support that could be possible. So just bring that up as we're talking about going into the summer and what we're doing over those holidays.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Childs. Do we have a council of governments coming up with everyone, or is it
Yes.
just with?
Mayor Brown, do you know the date of that?
Yeah, it's May, the 2nd, I think, or 4th.
I get
May
on my
4th.
calendar.
Yeah, May 4th, I think, at 4 o'clock.
If I could comment, one of the things, just a reminder what we do for the 4th of July. The city of Palmetto, the city of Bradenton, and Manatee County, we partner the costs for that. So the affected cities, county, whatever, I think it goes right along that same line. It's worked well for us for many years. The cost obviously kept going up, and so we readjusted each of our contributions to that. So, and we've worked very, very well along those lines.
It would be so awesome if we could do a drone show. And those are,
Yeah.
they're beginning, they're coming, and they're, I don't know if you've seen them.
And it's
They're-
environmentally better in so many ways.
That's
Yeah.
part of the reason that
Yeah,
we're.
we had the drone show at the regatta for the first time.
Yes, and the Council of Governments is May 2nd at 4 o'clock coming up.
Second at
so it's
4
already
o'clock
scheduled.
coming up.
The good and the bad of the drone show, if there's any wind, they have to totally cancel it, where with the fireworks, they could go off. So there's a lot more, and again, we had them Friday night before the regatta as kind of a pre-show, but unfortunately, it didn't happen that night because the wind, and they didn't want any rogue drones going with the wind, so
Good
it's a
point.
good thing, but it's got a lot of factors in it, so.
It's very disappointing to a lot of the community that they were not able to see. They thought the drone show would be, over the top, and they were disappointed because so many had nothing. So,
Mr. Karen,
Just
go ahead.
tying on to what Ed said, I think a great location, at least in my opinion, if they were going to have fireworks, would be Manatee Public Beach is relatively about somewhere in the middle of the island, as opposed to down by Coquina a little on the south end. Just a thought. And that drone show that you're speaking of, I happened to be at the CES Consumer Electronics Show, and I actually saw how they set these things up, and they can be rather expensive, to say the least. And you're right, Mr. Mayor, about the wind. That is something that is a defeating factor with those.
But you get weather on fireworks too, and we've had it in those 40 years, with too much wind, or you get a thunderstorm come in and,
Sure.
or something that wipes you out.
The drone shows are absolutely unbelievable to see them work and compete. It's awesome. It's just awesome.
Very cool. All right.
Thank you
And then-
very much.
And I was going to ask, so the county, obviously, at least some of my fellow board members are talking about, there's the number 30 million, the amount of tourist revenue that comes in and how much you collect and when you qualify to pass an extra tax. Do we have an update on that? Do you have anything on that?
Yeah, Ann wouldn't have the revenues on that. That would be the tax collector.
My mistake.
But no, that's okay, sir. We are trending in the right direction. I think we'll be able to give the TDC and the board probably a pretty solid update right after Labor Day. So stay tuned, but we are trending well. Of course, it's been talked about at the Board of Commissioners meetings. And just really quick, if we landed at $28,600,000 last year collecting tourism tax proceeds, If this county gets to 30 million and they have an appetite for a 6 penny, we would have to send those collection notices up to the Department of Revenue to have them certify that we did collect it. It would come to the TDC for a recommendation. It would go to the Board of County Commissioners. It would take a supermajority approval to move that forward. And then it would take the tax collector, I talked to Michelle Schultz, and, 90-day notice to the short-term rental managers would probably be appropriate. And if the stars align and everybody wanted to do it, you could be collecting that additional penny this time next year, and that would give you $7 million a year to work with.
All right, well, I'm not necessarily saying how I plan to vote, but I was just getting an update on the overall matter. Mr. Patel, do you have any questions for Ms. Watine? Is he still with us? I'm going to assume he is not there if I don't hear it pretty soon. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank
We
you very
appreciate it.
much.
All right, moving along in our agenda. Elliot, if you go ahead and explain to us, we need a TDC vice chair election for 2023.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
Commissioner Ron is the official vice chair for the TDC, and he would come and run the board meeting if Commissioner Satcher had a conflict, was out of town, advance notice type of thing. No, quite candidly, it's my job to always have the chair at the meetings. So in most cases, we'll try to reschedule to have the chair here. But Commissioner Ron would be the vice chair. But what we've done traditionally as a TDC is had a vice chair of a TDC member. God forbid if Commissioner Satcher woke up and couldn't make it to the meeting for sickness or something like that, and he still wants to have the meeting, then somebody would be vice chair to run the meeting. Previously, it's been David Teitelbaum and then Vernon Desir in my time. So that's why we just wanted to vote in a vice chair here, knowing that advance notice it would be Commissioner Ron.
Mr. Chairman?
So let's go ahead and do discussion first, and then we'll do nominations. I don't like it when it all just piles up in a big hurry. Go ahead, Mr. Charles.
Yeah, I'm ready to make a nomination, but if you want to have discussions first.
Well, do you want to tell us, who
Yeah, I would nominate Mayor Brown to this vice chairmanship position.
Okay. Anybody else got any, people or thoughts, and Mayor Brown will not take it personal if you mention another name. That's what I don't like is when we're talking about, everybody, oh, that means I don't like whatever, but any other thoughts? All right. I'll entertain motions, Mr. Childs.
Then my motion would be that we nominate Mayor Gene Brown to the vice chairman of the TDC.
Second.
We have a motion on the floor, a second. Any discussion? Anyone from the public like to speak on this? All those in favor of making Mayor Gene Brown what is this position? The TDC Vice Chair for 2023, say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes
Aye.
aye. Raul voted aye as well. I heard him come in there. Great job. All right. And it is unanimous. Congratulations.
I get to give a long speech or something?
That's perfect. We hope to never activate you.
Hope I'm never used.
Yes.
Right,
Yeah. We appreciate you being willing to serve in the case of a time of need. It will never end. All right, and then moving on in our agenda to number 6, the water ferry subsidy marketing. This will need a recommendation. I'll throw it to our Convention and Visitor Bureau Director, Elliot Falcione.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a quick update. Colby and Matt Case with Fleet Maintenance went up to the Orlando area to look at the boats that are being built. They're coming along really, really well. They should be complete by mid to late June. There'll be some branding on them as well. We are running concurrently. We are about 90% there on an operation agreement between Manatee County and the water ferry operator. They're known as Clearwater Ferry, but they'll have a DBA, I think Gulf Coast Water Ferry. So we're hoping to bring that to the Board of County Commissioners mid to late May. And then running concurrently with that, the 3 cities that will be part of this route would be City of Bradenton, City of Bradenton Beach, and the City of Anna Maria Island. They have draft interlocal agreements. I'm hoping to bring those to the Board of County Commissioners the same time as the operations agreement. So if the stars align, which we sure hope they will, it's been a long time coming. We're hoping to start a Friday, Saturday, Sunday service in the month of July. Would 4th of July weekend be the perfect scenario? Absolutely. We're going to try really hard to get there. I'll keep you all abreast of that. With that, several months ago, the previous county administrator was looking at subsidy funding sources. The beach concessions was one that was considered, and then the Coquina Market was considered. Neither of those two are an option. The only option for the first year to start this up is subsidizing the operation with tourism tax proceeds. So I'm here to ask you for a recommendation for up to $400,000 that should carry us through the first year, and then give Colby $25,000 to help market and promote the water ferry service, not only in the marketplace, but in our backyard as well. It's really important that the residents utilize this service. And after the first year, the county administrator's office and our office are going to look at grant opportunities, other funding sources that could subsidize this, and hopefully wean away from the tourism tax proceeds. So we're going to take it one step at a time. This is a legal use of funding with tourism tax proceeds. So with that, Mr. Chair, I'm just looking for a recommendation, or if anybody has any questions.
All right. And then, so the plan is, before we go to overall questions, so the plan is kind of a jump start, but then to be able to wean off of it. Is that correct?
Wean off the tourism tax proceeds. We're going to work really hard to see how close we can make this a sustainable operation. Hope we get there, may never get there. Until we try, we're just not going to know the ridership. There's going to be the seasonality of February, March, April, where we'll probably do really, really well. We believe in our hearts that up and down Anna Maria Island, from the north to Bridge Street to the south, is going to be really popular. There's going to be certain times of the year that you're not going to be able to get from downtown Bradenton out to the island because of the wind and the weather and all that. So we're going to be really fluid and see how it goes. But the first year, the projection, to answer your question with a long answer, Mr. Chair, is we're hoping to not spend any more than $400,000 to subsidize. So they have projection revenues, projection expenses, and to fill that projected gap is about $400,000. And you've all seen the ticket prices, $8 to $10, $10 hopper, $8 one way, and then there's all kinds of different senior prices, kids prices, et cetera.
And then am I correct that there's some chance of this eventually becoming part of our transportation system? Is that correct?
That would be my recommendation, to get it out away from me and let the experts working with MCAT do their thing. However, your department, called the CVB, would always continue to market and promote it for the greater good of a great service on the water.
Okay, thank you. And we've started to my left and gone to my right. Let's start to my right and go to my left here. Any comments or questions for Elliot? All right. Go ahead, Mayor.
Yeah, I just want to make a couple comments. I think we're starting out.
I don't think your button's
It's lit.
It is?
Yeah. I know that as we start this out, I think it's a really good idea to start promoting it and growing it. But I also think that the chair would also be interested, as I am, as this grows, then to incorporate north of the river. And I think there's a couple of opportunities in the Palmetto area. And, as we move forward, I want to keep our eye on that, because it should be, really incorporating all aspects of Manatee County. And at this point in time, I think that's the obvious other direction that we can go. And hopefully, even incorporating at some point the build grant as far as transportation and maybe pedestrians and trails and so forth, and incorporating that into even that aspect for other funding. I think that can really grow. So anyway, but I would like to see in the future that our eye on the ball there.
Thank you, Mayor. Point well taken. I agree with that assessment wholeheartedly. And I do know that in the convention plans with the hotel and all that, that is more than a possibility. That's something they're hoping for, and I think that hopefully we would be on board with as well. Go ahead, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think it's important, Elliot, to probably also say that opportunity is not there at the beginning of the start of this, that we have to kind of subsidize it, but there may be some opportunity in the future, second, third, fourth year, some grants might be available to help offset some of those costs. So it's just not a loss leader forever for our taxpayers. And I think as a prudent steward of that money, all of us are, that we're looking at that. It's just, we thought it was so important from the beach travel, even for transportation, to try to get some people off the road, but as well as, obviously, it's very important for the cross the river travel, I think, as we get going, especially with the convention center remodel, the hotel over there, because there's going to be such great opportunity if you can't get to the beach, but it's running back and forth across the river. There's so much opportunity. So I think this is such a win-win for the community. Maybe it's overdue and longer than we wanted it to take, but I think it's a great thing that we're moving forward with, not only from the inland to the island, but also across the river. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Childs?
Yeah, moving people from one place to the other in this county is one of the biggest problems that we've got. We see it every day. If you come in at 5 o'clock and you try to go north and south and you're on the beaches in the 45-minute traffic jams that we've been talking about today. So we have been talking about this for 25 or 30 years. I want to congratulate Elliot for all the work that he's put in and for the folks at the county that have worked on this, because this is the start. Now, that's not to say there's not going to be some choppy waters, no pun intended, as we move forward and feel our way along here. But we are launching. We are now starting, and that allows, and I echo what Mayor Brown said, that allows us to see, okay, how do we, if we hit those bumps, how do we then navigate those bumps? Do we get private carriers to come in here? Can we grow this thing into a really efficient way? And you see it done all over the world. And there's no reason that we can't do it here, because we are not going to build our way out of this problem with roads and bridges. It's just, we've got that so much growth, and we're doing a lot of roads, but we're not going to get a bridge to Longboat Key, not in my lifetime anyway, and those projects are slow to come. So I'm delighted to see this launch, and I think we're all going to have to be patient, and I think this subsidizing in the short term is well worth the efforts.
Thank you, Mr. Childs. Anything to add?
So, Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion, if that's appropriate at this time,
Go ahead.
to approve the $400,000 to subsidize it with up to $25,000 for marketing.
You can say up to a total of $425,000. That includes subsidy and marketing and promotions.
Okay.
That covers you.
That would be up to $425,000.
Yes, sir.
Subsidy and marketing for the first year.
And
Yes, sir.
Mayor, before I entertain seconds, I made a mistake. I have not asked if Mr. Patel has any comments, so let's try to get that in before we have a second. Do you have anything, sir? Via Zoom?
No, Mr. Chair, I'm really happy with this proposal.
Okay, all right. Second, all right. We've got a motion by the mayor of Bradenton and a second from the mayor of Palmetto. Any further discussion from the board? The public, welcome to come forward. Get 3 minutes. See none. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. All those opposed? All right. It passes unanimously to get the water ferries up and going. And I saw that you showed me the pictures of where they're working on the ferry, the boats.
Yes, sir.
And it's going to be neat. It's going to be impressive. So I think it'll make a fun day for people, making it part of the experience and making memories, especially if you got your kids with you. They're going to remember that ride. So,
Mr. Chair, while we're transitioning to the PowerPoint for the convention center, Mayor Bryant and I, we've been working on landing stops on the north side of the river. And the trigger is the convention center expansion and the hotel. And That's a big part of the expansion of this. Sincerely, I think after a year or two, once we figured it out really well, I see the county buying a third boat that's more of a high speed, that's enclosed, that can get people around certain types of weather out to the island. And sincerely, we believe that there's a future at Fort Hamer, where you have, high schoolers, college, that people can just drive to Fort Hamer Park and go out to the island for the day. And it doesn't get any better than that. So we know that Longboat Key will play a part in this expansion. And we know, I've talked to Sarasota County, they're starting to mull over a water taxi system, so there could be some integration there. And let's just build this thing out, so one step at a time, let's get it running. Let's really listen to the consumers, working with research data, and let's have fun at the same time.
Thank you, Elliot. I appreciate that. Yeah, that would be that'd be a neat experience and a good thing to see in the future. I think there's still talk of perhaps ending up with some type of facility at 75 as well on 301 where they're building there. So maybe that'd be an option a little bit closer.
Yes, sir.
But still being north of the river, and which means your car doesn't have to fight the traffic, which by fighting the traffic, you're adding to the traffic. So might be a neat opportunity moving forward. So moving on to number 7, the Convention Center capital improvements. We'll need a recommendation on this as well, and we will keep with Mr. Falchon.
Thank you. Leanne, if you can pull that up, please. I'm going to sit here. We're going to have 3 presenters. What we felt like it was important to show you what I showed the Board of County Commissioners. This is a little bit different one because it's such a big project. We've done many workshops with the board. Of course, we did the joint workshop with the board and the TDC. But we're really, the protocol is to get a recommendation from the TDC and feedback that I can take back to the Board of County Commissioners. So just a couple tidbits here. I'm not going to read them all, but when you see the Kiwanis friends in our community, it's amazing. They put $500,000 into building a civic center in the early 80s. That's a lot of money back then. So totally awesome. Ralph Haben, he was supposed to get double the amount from the state. And I think it was Governor Graham that cut the budget in half. I was hesitant, and I wanted to make sure it wasn't your dad. Yeah. And so I think the key is the building never had debt service, until we renovated in 2011. 100% tourism tax proceeds. It really just, cleaned up the venue. Go ahead, Leanne. And then, how did we get here? Gosh, we broached the subject way back in 2019. The county administrator at that time put $16 million and change into the 2-year budget that was approved by the Board of County Commissioners. At that point, we really didn't have enough of information on the construction design. A lot of people say, well, why did it keep going up? Tom Yarger, longtime property construction manager for the county, will give you a little tidbit of why that number kept going up. And then, of course, we were around the table with the TDC and the Board of County Commissioners on December 13th. Loved it because that was the first time both boards got together around the table in the history of collecting the tourism tax. I think that's something that we should at least do every other year, just to keep those communication lines really, really solid. The county, with the approval on that 2-year budget of $16 million, started some construction design with Foley Bryant. And then the board in September of 2022 closed on a $232 million bond. And at that point, $23 million and change was encumbered specifically for the convention center. I'd tell you what, the county got interest rate less than 2% on that 232. Sheila McLean's here. She's going to give you a little bit of a financial update. But I'll tell you what, the blessing to get an interest rate then compared to what it is now is really, really cool. Go ahead, Leanne. As a reminder, the 115,000 square foot would be post-expansion. That makes us stand alone on the west coast of Florida. You could say, well, what about the Tampa Convention Center? They're going to target a different clientele, like Orange County Convention Center, like Broward, like Miami. You can see our competitive set around the state. We have a great relationship with Palm Beach. So we'll continue to kind of collaborate with them. What doesn't fit over there may fit over here or vice versa. With Aimbridge Hotels managing the Marriott Hotel, they're the largest hospitality management firm on the globe. And they manage the Lancaster Convention Center and Hotel just east of Harrisburg, PA, the Myrtle Beach Convention Center. So similar size markets, similar size facilities. Anna Poole, who's in the audience, will tell you that meeting planners are planning out 3 years in advance. So we may cross promote each other, and we may all three bid with one conference to do 3 cities in one swing. So we're going to have some competitive advantages having Aimbridge as our as the hotel management for the Marriott. Go ahead, Leanne. You all know this, we've gone over it before, but this just gives you a little bit of a taste of the types of business that will come in. We are going to be heavy on state conferences, convention. I couldn't tell you, we're getting, ambush is a little bit a bigger word than really what it is, but Anna and I are just getting calls all the time saying, when's the expansion going to be ready? We want to bring our Sheriff's Association annual convention, our Clerks Association annual convention. I think Mayor Braun has a funeral home convention coming in, so help us lure that in. And it's going to be really, really neat. So we'll be ready. We did do a third-party study just to make sure that the rates that we're considering going with, bringing to the Board of County Commissioners, are in line with the market. And Anna and Mitch Connor, the third-party research confirmed that we're right on track. So I'm blessed to have a really good staff that's doing really good due diligence, because we got to get it right the first time. Go ahead, Leanne. Go ahead one more time. There you go. Okay, so this is the economic impact that venue brings into today, $6.8 million annually. So $22 million it'll jump. This has been vetted by research data. You can keep going. You go one more time. Keep going. And then all the way to the end. Okay, so you have your multiplier. The leisure visitor, you guys have heard me, ladies, I've said it too many times. The leisure visitor, first time to the Bradenton area, returned 94% of the time within 12 months. Who do we target? First-time visitors. The sports or the corporate visitor is about 70% of the time. So when we do our job, when Colby showcases the attributes of the county when the first-time visitor is coming to a convention, they are likely to come back within 12 months 70% of the time. So the annual economic impact is going to be around $24 million. That number is not going to kick in until 2 to 3 years after the expansion is complete because of the lead time of the meeting planner. But if you think about that, if the loan is paid off in 30 years, you're going to bring in almost $700 million to the county of ROI on that $48 million investment. Okay, really, really important that, when I go around talking to the community, it's how the board and the TDC invest these tourism tax proceeds, and it doesn't get any better than that. And those numbers are conservative. Okay, go ahead, Leanne. Hotel, many of you, and I really appreciate it. I think all the commissioners have gone for a hard hat tour. I think Mayor Bryant has gone on a hard hat tour. I know Mayor Brown, we're gonna bring him over as well. I think Tony DeRusso has more passion than me, so we have the right guy that is just working hard for the greater good. You can see the number of jobs that hotel is going to generate. The neat thing about the hotel is it's going to be the only true full-service hotel in the urban core. So a lot of that clientele that was looking for that type of property was bleeding into the other counties. Now they're going to stay in Manatee County. We have a high-end golf club out in East County that is all ready to contract with the Marriott to send all their top business there. So you're going to have that effect. That hotel in itself will generate $4 to $5 million in tourism tax a year, conservatively. Go ahead, Leanne. Okay, I'm going to turn over to my good friend Tom Yarger. We've worked together for a good 29 years. We've grown old together, but I trust him, and he does great work for the county. So he's just going to immerse you a little bit into where we're at on the convention center expansion. Go ahead, Tom.
I think it's on. Okay, good. Tom Yarger with Property Management. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show a series of slides. We had two options, an option A and an option B for the interior and exterior renovations. The Board of County Commissioners chose to move forward or to present option B, which is a model of the interior of the hotel. So we're going to model what they have going on there. We're going to try to match their colors. We're going to try to match their schemes and that kind of thing as best we can, within reason. And the option A is just it's a model light. It's more of a complement of their color schemes and the way they have things put together. I'll show you some slides also about the exterior of the building, so you can get a look at what it may look like, and also how we gain access to the building and to the parking lots, and then just some overall shots of the interior. Go ahead, please. Okay, so this is if you are looking east. That is that glass piece that you see is the pre-function space, and you'll see another pre-function space on the west side. Sandwiched between that is about 14.5 thousand square feet of ballroom, hold about 800 people plus. And this is the other side. So you can kind of get a look at it across the, that's Haven Boulevard. You see the car there. So that's kind of what you're going to see as you're coming around Haven Boulevard. Okay. So this is a site diagram. So you can see where the pond is. It's the blue piece there on the right-hand side of the screen. The yellow is pedestrian access to the building. So you'll see they can come in from both sides, and they can also enter directly from the parking lot to the ballroom itself. Then the red arrows, that's your drive lanes. So we have two areas where we can drop people off, one on the north side and one on the south side. So the interior elevations, again, I explained about, you can go ahead, option one, well, I guess this is the exterior. So this is you in plan. So on the right-hand side, you see the modifications that we're going to make to the parking lot and the drive areas, and you can get an idea of the two plazas. There's the brownish pink one on the left-hand side, and then there's the other one that's, I think that's the brown one on the right-hand side, that is a plaza between the hotel and the ballroom. So this is an upper view. If you look in the upper right-hand corner, you can see Haven Boulevard. The arrow crosses Haven Boulevard, and that's your view at the South Plaza. And this is from Haven Boulevard looking directly toward the ballroom and the two pre-function spaces on the right and left-hand side of the screen. Again, we're looking at the South Plaza, and this is an area that we can use for boat shows and car shows. We can put large tents up there and have some exterior functions. It also, we can drive closer to the building in the drive aisle there when we need to get people closer to the ballroom and other function areas. This one is another shot of that plaza. This is looking from Haven Boulevard down the side, which is the south side of the pre-function area, and the ballroom is to the right. And again, that's looking from Haven directly at the front of it. And that's Haven looking down the right-hand side, or the east side of the facility. This is a shot of the drive aisle that'll take you closer to the building on the west side, or excuse me, the east side. Okay, so here's where we talk about option A and option B. This is interior and exterior. Option A is interior and exterior to complement the Marriott. And option B is more expensive because we're going to try and model what the Marriott is doing. So this is going to be interior pictures. So what you're looking at now on the left-hand side of the screen is what is existing. And on the right-hand side of the screen is the option to complement the colors and the schemes shown by or put in place by the hotel. So there's option A. And then the option B is the more like the model. Okay? This is one of the conference hallways, and by comparison, left-hand side is existing, right-hand side is option A, the complement. That's option A blown up, and then there's option B. So you're not going to see a lot of color right now. We haven't picked that all the way, but it's a higher grade of carpet. The idea is to bring people through the covered entranceway from the hotel to the conference area and not have a change of the way it looks. So it wants to look like you've stepped not out of completely the hotel and into another facility. We've got a complementary and a model that would show you walking from one to the other without much difference. That's the existing meeting rooms. On the left-hand side is existing, on the right-hand side would be the option A. And then this is the blown-up option A, and then we have an option B. So you can see the different ceilings, different lighting, a little bit more enhanced improvements. And that's the exhibit hall. So we would change out some lights, change out some bleachers, get some curtains and things, so we hide it and just dress it up. So again, option A is interior and exterior. To complement, that total cost of renovation would be $43 million. That includes $3.5 million for furniture, fixtures, and equipment. Option B, the one chosen to move forward or to present from the board, is to model the Marriott, and it's $48 million. And that also includes $3.5 million for furniture. So you can see the increase in construction costs over the $26 million that we had originally. But a lot of that has to do with supply chain and also the fact that construction costs for this type of facility has increased 32% since 2019. And
Thanks,
that
Tom. Unless anybody has
You have
any
any
questions
questions?
about the design, we'll go to the Chief Financial Officer for Manatee County, Sheila McLean.
I actually do. Quickly, so one of the things I thought about towards the end of our BOCC meeting is will we have some type of commitment? I know that financially there's the interest there, but for them not to make a major design change in 2 years or in 3 years so that we don't end up left behind and, do we have any type of commitment for them on a number of years that they're going to stick with, at least for the most part, the same design, talking about the hotel?
The hotel, Commissioner, I don't think we have a commitment, but it is a Marriott, and they are going to change probably every 3 to 5 years. And sometimes those changes are not drastic, sometimes they are. And I think that we probably should maybe put something in our budget that has some money to assist us to do that if we need to, on a 3 to 5 year basis.
Start putting something aside, and then perhaps if we see they're going to make pretty major changes every 3 years, then we'll probably need to kind of go to complementing instead of mirroring, which might be, is what we're hoping to get a recommendation for today.
And the hope would be that in the cooperation that we have right now, I would suspect that maybe some of the changes they make would then complement us, so maybe we don't have to make such a big change, and those kinds of things. But that's something that can be worked out as we put the deals together.
Commissioner, it's a great question. Because it's a brand-new hotel, and I did talk to Tony DeRusso about it, they won't make any kind of aesthetic changes for at least the first 5 years.
Okay,
But
that's
it's a
good to
great question. We do have to coordinate and make sure we have contingency monies for that. Thank you.
And then how much actual, on the footprint, how much square footage are we actually adding with this?
We're adding, I believe, just around 36,000 square feet.
Okay, so
We have
about a
about
third.
21,500 square feet of pre-function space in the corridor connection to the hotel from the ballroom. And then we have about 14,500 square feet of actual ballroom area.
And does this budget include updating the kitchen?
Yes, it does.
Okay, those are my questions. Thank you, Tom. Anyone else have any questions for Tom? Anyone else having questions for Tom? All right,
Thank you.
thank you, sir. Go ahead, Sheila.
Good morning, Sheila.
Morning. Morning. Sheila McLean, CFO, Manatee County. I was asked to come and talk about the upcoming project for the convention center and give you a little bit of an update on where is the tourist development tax dollars are today and the expectation of where they're going to be in the future. In the CIP 2327, we have these two projects, the multipurpose room and the convention center expansion. As Elliot had mentioned, we bonded back in September of 2022, $232 million, of which 23 was allotted for these two projects. The debt service that we have allocated into it, and we have secured really, very, very good interest rates on this debt service as the interest rates kept coming down. And unfortunately, the hope was that it was going to go up, but it's been going down. We took advantage of that, and we secured all these bonds with a 30-year life. 1.9 represents only 8% of the total revenues that the tourist development tax revenues brings in on a yearly basis. So we are secured into that service is going to cover way beyond what the revenues are for. On the other hand, we know, and we've been tracking every year all the revenues on the tourist development tax year after year. And since 2021, the tourist development tax has been going up approximately, like in 22 it was, in 21 it was 55% over the previous year. On 22 it was 25% over the previous years. And the target for 23 is going to be that we're going to exceed the $30 million mark. As Elliot had mentioned also, that gives us the opportunity of being able to in the future levy that 6 tax, and if the board wishes to follow this and go on that route, I will bring you another $7 million annually into these dollars. With the increase in the scope of this project to a option, whether the board chose, I believe it was chose option 2 for the $48 million, it'll leave us a gap of about $24 million that the tourist development tax revenues will be. It's my recommendation as the financial advisor to utilize this growth that we've had over the last couple of years to use that gap of growth to pay for the remaining of the project. We hope that it won't be a total $48 million, but as Tom said, the cost of everything has gone up so high. And even though we borrowed for, including inflationary factors, changes in the scope and changes in the market and inflation have not been enough. With that said, when we look into the future and when we budget, there is a 5-year projection of what we do when we budget. Not only do we know that the tourist development tax revenues are going to be well today, but are they going to be well from here to 4 years down the road? And the recommendation of my office is that it will be. The growth, and hopefully in knowing that tourism will continue to go up. However, we don't know where inflation in the market is going to be in 2 years. So we are taking it lightly and being very conservative at what we are putting in our budget, letting expenses be monitored and guarded very diligently. With that said, at the end of this year, I believe that even after, with all these initiatives that the board and both boards are recommending, the Coquina Beach, the water taxi, and the convention center, it would be more than feasible and without any harm to the tourist tax as a whole.
All right. Thank you, Sheila. Have any questions from anyone on the council? Or comments? Go ahead, Mayor.
I'm delighted to be here today, and y'all probably heard me say this before, but ever since the convention center has been in existence, it's needed a hotel to complement it. So we've really come a long way, and this just really tops it off to be able to remodel and link it to the hotel and to protect from the inclement times of the year. the guests and the visitors. And I think it's going to be a wonderful enhancement and just grow exponentially the people that are going to be lining up to use the convention center and fill up the hotel. So we're looking forward to being larger contributors to the tax that we spend here. So Palmetto's looking forward to that very much. So, thank you.
Mr. Patel, do you have any comments on the presentation or any questions?
No, sir, I'm all good. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, if I can just make a closing comment. Sometimes I'm known as a salesperson, a cheerleader. I think it's just I get a little charismatic when I get excited about something that is really, really good for the community. With this, you will have a county that it has the most diverse assets you'll find in the state of Florida. We will be running on all cylinders, and the blessing of something like this from a seasonality is the meeting planners aren't going to come in January, February, March. They're going to come in the summertime, in the fall, when we need a push, when the urban core needs a push. If these two mayors want to redevelop their cities, they need consistent new dollars flowing into that area to sustain small businesses that are going to be moving in that area. So that's what makes it exciting. Like Sheila said, Tom's going to scrutinize every expense to make sure that we enhance this in the most efficient and effective way. We're working with Sheila's office. We'll phase in a little bit of an org chart enhancement. We're going to need a full-time salesperson to be out there working with, with the meeting planners. And then obviously with more space, we need a little bit more help. But many of you know me as a fiscal conservative. But I feel like in my heart, I know when I need to spend money, and we're going to phase that in. As the revenues increase, we'll just add a little bit of staff as well. So we've been working with that with Office of Financial Management as well. So unless anybody has any questions for me, Mr. Chair, we're looking for a recommendation to bring back to the board on May the 9th is when the board would approve the ordinance, the tourism tax ordinance. And I believe that the Office of Financial Management would also do a budget amendment that same meeting, May 9th.
And then the options on this motion at this point on the recommendation are between the 44 or the 48, option A and option B?
The total transparency, like I said, this is a little bit different one because of the nature of the size of the project. The Board of County Commissioners unanimously wanted to move forward with the $48 million budget. And wanted to seek feedback from the Tourist Development Council with that. So total transparency, like I said, this is, the Board of County Commissioners have the utmost respect for the Tourist Development Council. It just had a lot of variables and borrowing money and all that. So it kind of, we backed into this a little bit, first time in my career. But short answer, we're looking for feedback. But that's what the board wanted me to come to as a $48 million budget.
Do you want to phrase the motion and then someone can decide whether to make it or not? Or is it in our packet?
There is not a motion in the packet. I just don't want to make a motion. If one of the TDC members want to make a motion to recommend the $48 million budget back to the Board of County Commissioners for May 9th, that's the motion that I would ask for.
I'm just waiting.
Yep. So if you,
I'm making that motion.
Okay, go ahead. And you can phrase it your way. You've done this a lot.
I think Elliot did it perfectly, but I'd like to make the motion that we take the option for the $48 million.
All right.
Second.
I've got a motion from Mayor Shirley Groover Bryant. I've got a second from, I believe, Norma Kennedy came in first on that. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion on the floor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Aye.
Mr. Patel, you were on aye, correct? That was just a delay? You were a yes vote, is that correct? I believe he was a yes vote.
he was, yes, he
Everyone
said aye.
pretty much understood. Okay. And then any noes? I hear no noes. The chair is yes as well, so we unanimously recommended by the board here today. Number 8, we've got public comments. Anyone here have anything to say on anything we've been addressed? I've actually been taking comment on each item just out of sheer habit, so I doubt we have anything at this point. All right, number 9, new or old business from TDC members. Anyone like to bring anything up on that?
I would.
Go ahead. Mayor.
I'd just like to make everyone aware and invite everyone to come on April 24th at 10 a.m. to visit Connor Park in the city of Palmetto. It's 505 5th Street West. We're going to be having a ribbon cutting that morning, and this is one of our environmental projects, which almost every project we do is an environmental project. But it's the brownfield area that used to belong to CSX, and it now has 605 plants on the property. We have osprey nests, bat houses, we have solar trees, and we have all pervious pavers. And the design of the project is so that it drains, in final calculation, 51 acres to the north of the project before the stormwater goes into Manatee River. And so I hope if you have time, you don't have to come particularly at that time, but come by and visit the project and see what you think of it. Palmetto's really proud of it. And one other thing, I was hoping that Mayor Brown might share to communicate about a brown cleanup project that we're doing jointly with Keep Manatee Beautiful, and it's on both sides of the river, on shoreline, but it's also underwater, and they're going to be having divers. I think they're having some seals. The whole project is being coordinated together with the City of Bradenton, City of Palmetto, Keep Manatee Beautiful, and if you want to add on to that.
Sure, and it's on May 19th, which is a Friday. And we're going to be out there from about 8 o'clock in the morning, Keep Manatee Beautiful, up until almost 1. And it's been the first river cleanup basically in a lot of years. So we're excited to kind of see what we get out of the river when you can't see it. But when the tide's low, you can see some things, and we know that are going to be very important to keep our waterways and keep going. So go to Keep Manatee Beautiful site, and you can get all the information for that. So thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mayors. Any other comments?
Mr. Chair, just a couple, real quick, you saw the press release. The concession was awarded the World Champion Cup. Mark your calendars for December 7th through the 10th. It is the senior tour version of the Ryder Cup, first of its kind, inaugural year. They chose our community over one of the largest communities in the state of Florida. 2 days on ESPN, 1 day on ABC National Television. So thank you. Without the reoccurring equity that the TDC and the board gives us for pro golf events, we couldn't make a quick decision like we made. So really, really excited. And then we just finished up the Sarasota Cup soccer tournament over the weekend. For those of you who went to the Lecom Corn Ferry, you saw the crowd out there. And the permanent frame tent for Premier is now ordered. So Tom Yarger and his team's getting some work done at a Premier Sports Campus, so we're really, really excited about that. June 5th is our next TDC meeting out on the center on Anna Maria Island. That'll be the meeting that I'll be asking for a recommendation for our 2-year budget. That's all, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you, Elliot. Anyone else? Seeing nothing, this meeting's adjourned.